What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the Pontiac Firebird TA. I would say this is probably one of those vehicles a lot of players were very happy to see in the trailer. I was honestly waiting for this specific car to come into the game, and I'm really glad that it did. And if you guys might have been wondering, by the way, the price of the Pontiac Firebird is going to be about $223,000. And if you guys actually pick this vehicle up in the bundle, I believe the car by itself in the bundle is like 180. That is if you own the other cars in the bundle. So at least the car's not too insanely expensive. And with us being able to buy the motor pass now, I would say a lot more players are probably going to want to grind out some more money. And this is definitely one of those collector type of vehicles. And now when it comes to the customization of the Pontiac Firebird, there's luckily going to be a good amount of stuff you can do to this vehicle. So starting off here with the hoods, you guys can actually change that to carbon. I kind of like that one a bit, but I might end up leaving this car completely stock. I don't know why, but I really do love the overall look of the Pontiac stock. Sometimes when you add stuff to the vehicles, it for some odd reason does indeed make them worse. So here's the next hood. Then we have that one, kind of lifts it up a little bit. Then we have that one with the blower on top of it. You can see the belt. Then moving over to the front bumpers now. So that's the first one. Here's the second. Brings down that big bottom piece. Not really feeling that all that much though. Moving over to the next one. Trying to figure out what that actually changes. It looks like it gives like the little red piece and or the color of the vehicle around the lights. Then we have that one. Whatever that actually is. Then we have the other piece on the bottom. That one actually looks pretty nice on there. Then we have the red on there. Then we have that. Then we're going to have this one with the really big lip on the bottom again. Then we have, I think that's glass on the front of that, I believe. That's what it looks like. Then we're going to have the carbon fiber piece on the bottom. That looks kind of good. But I also feel like the way this actually looks on the vehicle, it doesn't really fit this type of car and or I guess this kind of vehicle for that matter. Moving over to the next one, we're going to have, my goodness, look at those canyons coming out of the side. Those are kind of insane. Wow, okay. Those are kind of unneeded. And then the final thing is going to have the glass. So I would say that one's going to be a little ridiculous if you ask me. But hey, if you like that, that's all that matters. Moving over to the next thing is going to be the front fender. So you can actually wide body the car. Unfortunately, the fender is going to come out way too much on the side of that tire. I would say many people are probably going to agree that that just honestly doesn't look all that good. I really wish there was a way to actually widen out the tires and or maybe have them fit a little bit better. It kind of reminds me a little bit of how the customization in GTA is. Sometimes the fenders stick out way too much and it honestly does not look that good. But moving over to the rims, so for this all you guys will have is going to be this one, which I'm most likely going to leave on because for stock rims, I actually really dig the way these look. Then you will also have the choice of about 81 other rims in the game, which if I had to guess, I would say a lot of players are probably not big fans of. Then you can also do the caliper color as well, but for me, I'm probably going to leave that stock as well. But now after that, moving over to the side mirrors on the vehicle here. So here's the base one. Then you have carbon fiber. Then we have those, which is going to go this angle. Those honestly don't look all that bad on the vehicle, but I'm most likely just going to leave the regular ones. Those actually don't look that bad either. Then moving over to the rear fender is probably going to be the same thing. Let's see. So yeah, the fender really does stick out a lot on this one. I really wish there was a way to actually bring out the wheels more. Moving over to the rear wings now, there's going to be 4 other ones. So here's the next one. Basically just carbon. Then we have that big duck tail. Doesn't really look too bad, I guess. Then we have a wing sticking out the back. And then finally we have, my goodness, what is that? I really don't even know what that is. That looks kind of weird. I get like fox body vibes from that. I really don't know. I really don't think a lot of players are probably going to use this rear spoiler on the car, but moving over to the rear bumpers now. So here's the stock one. Then the second one blacks out the lights. And I also saw something on the back piece, which is also the lights. Then we have that one, which is another blacked out light piece. That one looks kind of cool. Then we have this one with big exhaust coming out the back. Then we have blacked out lights again, more. Then we have this one. I have to admit though, they're really not making these look all that bad. And what's kind of surprising is the fact that sometimes the bumpers really don't look all that good. But for this vehicle, they really don't look that bad. I have to admit that. Even though some of them might not fit the car in that aspect or like Maybe, for example, like this one, I really don't think would look all that good. If you were to put the wide body kit on this thing and then add this plus the big canyons in the front, you would have one very interesting looking imposter for the touring car class, which is pretty funny. And then here's the interior. So for this one, I'm probably just going to leave this stock. But if you guys did want to check this out, so let's change that to 5. You can also change the back piece as well. So here's carbon fiber, kind of like that a bit. Then we have that nice black finish. For me, though, I'm probably going to keep the white one on there because I do believe that was a stock one. This is going to be that 4-speed. It is kind of crazy how far cars have come, to be honest. I mean, these cars were honestly so incredible looking back then, and I really do think they have come a long way, but I really have to appreciate the way cars were designed back in the day. But anyway, guys, let's go do an outside look of the Pontiac Firebird right now. I will also show the interior of the vehicle as well and take this thing on a quick top speed test. I will also jump into one of these street races with this car as well, just to test out its overall performance. So now arriving outside here with the Pontiac Firebird, so it did end up snowing a little bit, which is kind of funny because it never normally snows anymore, which if I had to guess, a lot of players are probably happy about that, but I really do love the look of this specific Firebird. This car is awesome. It really does look great, and I do love the body style of it. For some odd reason, though, I'm sure a lot of players might not end up doing what I did with mine, so I did end up leaving mine basically stock for the most part. I actually didn't change anything on this vehicle. Not that I didn't like any of the customization for it. I was just personally feeling this thing to be stock. I think it looks a lot better like that. It really is incredible to me how some of these older cars look so dang good even nowadays, which is pretty insane considering many of the newer cars honestly don't look all that great. But let's take a listen to that engine. But now moving over to the interior view of the Pontiac Firebird, so I would say this car has some pretty nice detail to it. Now obviously you're not going to have any crazy screens in this thing either because that's all they're basically putting in cars nowadays is like a big iPad screen, which is kind of funny, but this car is definitely going to have that classic feel to it. I'm really digging the overall look, and I wasn't going to go with the red stitching, but I have to admit it does look really nice in here, and I also have that like nice finished back dash piece as well, so I would say this car is going to be pretty dang nice in first person view. Now let's go see what the top speed of the Pontiac Firebird actually is. So if I had to guess, I would say a lot of players are probably going to be pretty used to the way this car is driving because you do actually have to drive this thing in the recent Summit as well. So you basically have to get used to it. And to be honest, I would say the biggest downfall of the Firebird is probably going to be the way it shifts, which obviously back in the day this car was actually a 4-speed, so I'm not really hating on it in that aspect. It's more of the fact of the way of how it actually drives in the Crew 2, and if you guys are running manual, I know this car might be kind of wonky to use, but besides that though, once I get around this turn, let's see what the actual top speed is. I would admit though, for being a 4-speed, the car really doesn't seem to be all that slow. It kind of accelerates decently. It's just kind of weird being in the right gear, but let's see what the top speed is. So it's going to be, oh wow, it's actually faster than I thought. 246, 247. So let's say about 245 is going to be the top speed of the vehicle. I do find it kind of funny, something like this Firebird here is going to be faster than like the Infiniti Q60. I really do feel like there is a way they do that to actually balance the cars out so they're not all super fast. I guess that would make a lot of sense, not having every vehicle do 255 miles an hour. And then if they're not only that fast, they can also handle that might be a bit of an issue. But overall, guys, I would say the top speed of the Firebird is not going to be all that bad, and 245 miles an hour is most likely going to be pretty competitive. So now jumping right into the race test here with the lovely Pontiac Firebird, I would say one of the biggest issues I have with this car, where are you going, bro? That is not the road. Okay. One of the biggest issues I have with this car is the fact that, well, it is indeed going to be a 4-speed. Now, I'm not going to lie, though, if you guys are running manual, it's probably going to be the biggest, most annoying thing trying to get used to this vehicle. But if you're running automatic, I don't think the car's going to be all that bad. I mean, normally these cars can find the gears pretty easily and or, fix themselves when needed to be in automatic. But if you are running manual, you might find yourself being a little bit slower in some areas going around certain turns and, maybe not having the correct speed that you really should coming out of them, only because of that one reason. I did notice after driving the Pontiac for a bit that the car was getting easier to use. I wasn't really struggling in an aspect of trying to shift it as much, and I honestly did a lot better than I thought I was going to in that event in the summit. The car really is actually pretty dang decent for what it is. It's kind of incredible to me how far cars have actually come when it comes to technology and like overall like handling, stability, speed, all that stuff is kind of insane. When you look at something like this from the 70s and then you jump into like a newer car nowadays, it's like, wow. What's insane also though is you really have to respect the engineering behind that time of the vehicle, because back in the day, the Trans Am was like one of the cars that actually drive. Like for example, the one in the Motor Pass is basically like the one from Smokey and the Bandit, which I will be covering that car as well, so stay tuned for that. I do want to see how they're actually different. I would say one of the biggest differences I have noticed with driving this car is probably going to be the way it handles compared to something like even the Infiniti Q60, for example. And my goodness, I cannot drive right now. But I have noticed that driving something like this is going to feel a lot different. The way this thing goes around turns, the way it actually carries itself. It's definitely pretty incredible. It's almost like the car does have like some type of weight to it, which would obviously make sense considering it's like an older muscle car for that matter. And I did mention before, guys, that one of the biggest problems you're most likely going to have with this car is probably going to be the way it accelerates. I mean, the top speed is like 245, so that's really not going to be an issue. That's actually faster than many of the better street cars, for example, so I would say the top speed is not going to be an issue. If you guys are trying to fly around turns and all that, and you're probably trying to get the most speed you possibly can, I would say the Pontiac might end up being a bit of a challenge to use, so I don't really think a lot of players are going to use this car competitively. But if you wanted to run this thing in like something, maybe farming races for like money and or followers, or maybe you're trying to get some parts, I would say this car is going to be a really fun option. Or maybe if you just want to cruise around. Let me know what you guys think about the Pontiac Firebird in the comments below, and here are the settings I'm currently running on this vehicle.